Welcome to Kentucky Football Nation. It is Monday, May 12th. I'm up early. I have my coffee. No, I'm not drinking bourbon because I'm not on the SEC podcast, so I'll just drink coffee. Hope everybody had a good Mother's Day. If your mother's still alive, I hope you spent time with her. My mother's passed, and I miss her every day. Well, let's talk about Bush Hamden. He gave an interview to Tom Leach, I think, last Friday, and I missed it, so I didn't have a chance to get on this weekend and put on a video. So I wanted to do it Monday morning and update you guys because he gave a good interview talking about the offense in the spring. So let's get started with some of what he said. Talking about the quarterbacks, he talked about Zach Calzada. I didn't realize this guy was his seventh year in football. This guy's been playing football a long time. He said some obvious things. He has a lot of experience, 7 years, a lot of experience, but he did play at Texas A&M, so let's remember that. I know if you watch the Big Good Old Boy Network podcast and they list the quarterbacks in order of best to worst, Zach Calzada's dead last, which I find if he had Auburn or somebody else on his helmet, Oklahoma, he wouldn't be last. But since he's a Kentucky player, he's last. He's got a big arm, which we already knew that. He said Zach needs to work on throwing a catchable ball. Early in camp, the wide receivers had to adjust to his velocity. As I've told you on all my other videos, quarterbacks, offense, the guy's got an arm. I mean, he can sling it and he can throw the deep ball. So players and receiver there just have to adjust to his ball, and I think that will happen. He also said he's played in the SEC, so no game's going to intimidate him. I agree with that. I mean, the guy's 25 years old. I don't think he's going to be intimidated lining up against Texas because he already beat Nick Saban in Alabama early in his career. So hopefully that will carry over, and I think it will. Then he talked about Cutter Boley, and I find this a little signaling here. He said Cutter must stay the course, do not listen to outside noise, and he needs reps and snaps. So I think what he is saying there is Calzada is going to start, and Boley just needs to take this year and learn the offense and learn how to play quarterback. And I know he looks like he needs to fill out a little bit physically, and hopefully that's what will happen. I'm sure there's probably teams calling him up saying, hey, man, you want to start? You want to? And I'm sure there's probably some smaller teams getting in his ear. So hopefully he will stay the course and he understands that. You know, I think they could still redshirt him a year even if they needed to. So, like I said from the very beginning, sounds to me like Calzada has come in for this year to gap the Cutter Boley year and teach him how to play quarterback and help him. So, as of right now, sounds like Calzada is going to start, and I agree with that. Wide receivers. He talked about the wide receiver room. We only have 4 wide receivers on the roster who caught a pass last season. Wow. I know Macklin and Gilmore, probably Law and Hester, Oklahoma and Alabama are the only ones that probably caught passes. Or Mel Stellato from Clemson, maybe. But anyway, he said we had 6 or 7 guys that are capable receivers. I agree. All these guys that we're talking about, Law, Hester, Macklin, Stellato, Gilmore. I know I'm missing, I forgot who else I'm missing, but they're capable wide receivers, okay? You get people from Alabama, Oklahoma. They were good in high school, and they know how to play the position. They just got to do it. He said he had a blue-collar group. You know, there's no Dane Keys, no Barry Browns, no big, time guys who can get down the field and they're going to go to the NFL. We don't have that kind of a group. So we're going to have to play like it, and I think we will. Then he talked about running backs. I really like our running back room. He said there's no clear number 1 running back coming out of the spring. I agree with that. Probably not. He said Dowdle, Wilcox, Patterson, and McGowan all have different skill sets. I agree. I think Dowdle was a goal line back at Nebraska. He scored 12 touchdowns. So in short yardage, that guy can find the end zone. That's what we need. You take a guy like McGowan from New Mexico State. He caught a lot of balls coming out of the backfield. If you watch my highlight short on Seth McGowan, he definitely can catch. Like I said, he caught a 40-yard, really pretty touchdown pass. So we could use that. So that's the running back room he talked about. Then he went to offensive line. He said rebuilding the big blue wall was a priority. I agree. We did a really good job there. He said that UK invested in all conference players from, all conference players from the group of 5 conferences. So yeah, we got, New Mexico State, I forgot what other schools. Western Kentucky, they're in another group of 5 after the SEC. So yes, we did get some players for some smaller schools, but they were all conference in those conferences. So they're experienced and they're good. They can play in the SEC, or they probably wouldn't have picked them up. You take like Wilberly, the center from Western Kentucky. That guy could start. I don't know that he will start over Jagger Burton, but he can if something. If Jagger Burton doesn't play well, and we're talking about Jagger Burton, man, I remember last year he played awful. I was listening every game. Jeff Picoro would even start. He started calling him out by name, jumping off sides, missing a block. So hopefully Burton will get himself together. So we only kept 3 players from last year's offensive line. Everybody's gone. We kept Jagger Burton, Malachi Wood, and Farmer, I think, is the other guy. Other than that, Ciaze Pete, all other guys coming in. Braun from Arkansas. We got a lot of good players. He said the experience from this offensive line was evident on day one. Now, that's what I like to hear, that he could tell on day one. They haven't played together, but they're a mature group. That's what you want to hear. When you pay that much money for some people, their head has to be in the game and they have to want to play. And I think these guys want to play in the SEC. Yeah, they came here to get paid, but they want to play in the SEC. And of course, tight ends. We got Boyer, the blocking tight end from Illinois. He's been really good in camp. He can run block. We need him to go along with Caddis and Rodriguez, who hopefully we will throw to a little bit more, because our tight ends were catching single-digit passes for the entire year. I mean, hopefully, I know Rodriguez can catch and Caddis can too. Hopefully we can get them the ball. So that's 7 minutes. That's the offense update from offensive coordinator Bush Hamden last week. Coming up on Wednesday, I'm putting out a kind of a history lesson, a Steve Spurrier, Bill Curry beef video, the personal beef that they had with one another that bled over to when they both became head coaches, when Spurrier went to Florida and Bill Curry went to UK, and then Spurrier took it out on Bill Curry. Watch that video on Wednesday. I'll be putting out some other videos, just some historical videos. I think I'm going to do, since I'm live here in Indiana, I'll do one on the Indiana Kentucky football series, because I think that was kind of a something worth mentioning, because they played for a lot of years, whenever in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, when we were just trying to get through and they were trying to get through to basketball season, and both teams weren't that good a lot of the years. So I'll probably go over that since that series is over with, just a little history, some more historical stuff, just to go through, get us through till summer camp. And then, of course, this Saturday, I did a Making the Case video for Mark Stoops. Now, I'll preface that by saying I talked about the SEC Good Old Boy Network. Probably talk about it some more. But I want you to know, before I start talking about it, that I'm talking about it from experience. I was in the Air Force for 8 years. I was stationed in Columbus, Mississippi, first place I went. 30 miles from Starkville, 60 miles from Tuscaloosa. I found all about, I went to T-Town. Everybody went to T-Town to shop because it was a beautiful city. Never got to go to a football game. Even back in 85, 86, you couldn't get tickets to a football game in Alabama. Now, I went to Mississippi State games. Then I learned about Ole Miss. When I talk about Ole Miss, they're Locked On Ole Miss, and I call you Locked On Stupid. I'm speaking from experience. I was there in the 80s and early 90s. I was in Jackson watching the Egg Bowl. So I know what I'm talking about when I talk about Auburn, Alabama, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. Oh, and I was also stationed last 2 years in the Air Force before I came to Indiana. I was stationed in Montgomery, Alabama. That's when I learned about the Auburn-Alabama rivalry. We'll talk more about that. And I learned that, wow, okay, that's as powerful as Louisville, Kentucky. Those guys hate one another. So anyway, when I start talking about the Good Old Boy Network and these videos, and I'm speaking, I lived it. This was pre-internet, before anybody, I had to figure it out on my own. I'm 19, 20 years old. I'm from Western Kentucky. I know we're good in basketball. I know we're not good in football in the early 80s. So anyway, when I talk about it, I'm not just talking shit. Okay. I know what I'm talking about. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button, excuse me, it's early. I can't talk. Hold on a second. Let me get some coffee. I'm losing my voice. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, please hit it. I could use subscribers. I'm a new channel. I just went over 100 subscribers. I'm not even 3 months old yet. So I appreciate all my subscribers. I will be putting on shorts a couple times a week. History of Kentucky football, just little 15 to 30 second shorts of players from the past that were good in football, because we did have some really good players. Listen, I appreciate everybody. Have a good week. Watch for my video on Steve Spurrier, Bill Curry on Wednesday. Mark Stoops making the case on Saturday. Shorts in between. Thanks for watching.